he literally, I don't know how true it is, but like he literally sort of like, yeah, just sort of saw all the empty sort of like roads and streets after his meditation. Can you imagine? You would have thought you would have died.
Yeah, right.
Died.
So this podcast is about you, your journey in music, and how you got to where you are now.
Awesome. It's nice and easy. It's my favorite topic.
Very cool. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in West Byfleet and raised there basically. And I now literally live down the road. So I basically haven't moved from where I was born.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I quite like where I live. It's kind of easy to get out of. So like we're next to a motorway. You know, we have a really good train line. I can get into central London in like under 20 minutes. So
oh wow.
Yeah, we got like woods and stuff, and it's just quite nice. Like it's kind of suburby, I guess.
Like growing up, was it fairly easy to get into London?
Yeah, like I was super lucky with that. And like we had a kind of small scene as well, sort of like in our local area, which is really cool. Like our local church used to put on shows for some reason, until someone let off a stink bomb and then they were banned.
Just off one stink bomb?
Yeah. I mean, we were like obviously kids. We were like
hardcore
13, 14. It was all ages shows. So yeah, as soon as that happened, it ruined it.
They shut it down. Wow. Well, they would let like your band's heavy, right? And they would let your bands like yours play?
Yeah. So I wasn't in a band at the time. I was just like a punter. But yeah, a couple of my mates' bands. I actually really saw, before like I knew him, now the guy we usually use for photos. I saw his band play when he was like 16, and I kind of didn't know him back then. So it's quite funny because he's like from the local area as well.
That's cool. That is really cool. So how did you get into music?
I guess I was quite a hyperactive kid, so music kind of just sort of found its way into my life quite quickly. Like if there's like the radio on, or my aunts and uncles like were good at buying record like albums and stuff like that, and I would sort of borrow CDs, or they'd buy me CDs for like Christmas, my birthday. And yeah, and I used to go to like secondhand markets for CDs as well, because that was back when like CDs were like £20. They're so expensive.
Right, I know. Isn't that crazy to think now that they're just like worthless?
Yeah, I read somewhere, I don't know how like true this is, but apparently when like CDs first came out, I don't think record labels realized how cheap they were to make compared to vinyl. So they kept the same markup, like they kept the same price. And then they realized it like cost like 50p to make. But I mean, I don't know how true that is, but it makes sense, like, because they were insanely expensive.
Yeah, I can still vividly remember going into different like, you know, record chains and city. They'd have the little listening station and you'd listen to the CD, and then it was like $20 to buy one record.
Yeah, and it's so heartbreaking if you hate it. Like you almost like force yourself, because it takes you like a month to save up the pocket money to buy.
Yeah, like, if it has one good song, you're like, oh my gosh, what a waste of money this was.
Yeah, and like bands, I swear to God, were so guilty of just having like one or two singles, and that would be on like the Kerrang or like the Metal Hammer compilation CD, and you'd be like, yeah, this is lit, like I'm gonna buy it, and then yeah, it's just bitter disappointment.
Oh, that's funny. When did you start?
How good they've got it now. They do not know how good they've got it.
I know. Now you can just stream one song 1 billion times.
Exactly.
So when did you start? Because like, what were the early records that you're getting? Because obviously, was there a progression to like how heavy the music is you're playing now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, so I'm trying to think where it would have been. So in my family, like bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers and like U2, like bands like that, like a band called James.
Oh, I know James. Laid. They had that one hit.
Yeah, like basically like they like bands like that. So like my uncles and aunts were sort of only, I think about 10, I think, yeah, they were like in their late teens, early 20s when I was like born. So like they were kind of like the older sort of sibling vibe. So I used to always kind of get my music taste from them. So the heaviest they kind of went was like rock music, like, yeah, like U2. There wasn't any like Metallica or anything, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say like Red Hot Chili Peppers was like one of the main ones I like first got into. And then from then I really got into like Gorillaz and like Blur and like sort of loads of like the British stuff, like Oasis. And
Okay.
it's like, I mean, I feel like they're kind of like a rite of passage for like young British people. um and yeah, and like from there I kind of got into Nirvana, and like that was something like my family were into. And then yeah, I just sort of spiraled. I got into like Kerrang and Scuzz TV, MTV was at Headbangers Ball was
Oh
one.
yeah.
I used to stay up late and used to rope my younger brother to stay up as well. And yeah, from there, like I kind of got into like Rammstein, System of a Down, Linkin Park. I really got into metal in a big way when I found, because I really liked like Jay-Z and Beyonce and stuff like that. When I was at the Jay-Z Linkin Park collaboration album, can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah. They did like what was it? The Black Album, like hybrid. Yeah, they did one of his records. Like, yeah, I remember that. That was a cool album. Yeah.
And then like, yeah, and I got into Limp Bizkit from like a Now 49 CD or something like that. They were good actually, the Now CDs. I don't know if you got them where you were.
Yeah, now that's what I call music.
Yeah, like, so was it Sum 41, Blink 182, Nickelback, like all those kind of rock kind of bands are on there. So yeah, I kind of got through that basically.
Right on. And when did you start playing an instrument? Like, what was the first instrument you learned how to play?
So I started learning how to play guitar when I was like 13, 14. But my attention span was just useless when I was a kid, like really bad. So that didn't stick. But I started doing vocals like very briefly, like in a band when I was about 14. And I kind of didn't start again until when I was about 19, when Sammy, like the guitarist / my husband in this band, is he like just started doing this project as a recording project. And he was just like, just do vocals, just learn how to do them. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, and that's how I learned how to do vocals. I just tried it.
So when you were 14, the band that you were in, did it sound anything like Employed to Serve?
No, we were just we were weird. I don't know what we were. We were like, I think at the time we wanted to sound like Gallows and Enter Shikari, because they were like the bands that were like blowing up when we were younger. And like Trivium and As He Lie Dying, like bands like the sort of more metalcore bands as well. But we weren't like obviously technically proficient enough. We didn't work out why it doesn't sound as good, but we gave it a go.
But you're still playing like metal even at 14. Wow.
Yeah, 14.
That's rad. Okay. So how did you meet your now husband, and how did he know that you're a singer and you got involved in his project?
So I met him at my mate's house party. And like he was wearing a Defeated Sound t-shirt, and I was wasted, and I was like, I like Cannibal Corpse. Because he was like the only guy in like Surrey, like my whole county, that like liked death metal. So I was like, hey, how's it going? kind of thing.
Sure.
And yeah, from then on we dated. And then yeah, and so yeah, I didn't do vocals at all. So it wasn't until like I guess 5 years into our relationship. So we met when we were 16. I think like yeah, like we were into our relationship or so. Actually no, 3. Maybe a bit less. So when I was like 19, 20, I started doing vocals.
But you met him when you were 16?
Yeah, we started dating when we were 16.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Just still be together and married now, like high school sweethearts.
Yeah, almost. Like
wow. So so you knew he obviously was into music and played heavy music. And then when does he ask? Was he in another band prior to what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, so he was in he's in a few bands. So he's in a band called Decrepit Womb. And he had like members Ingested and like bands like that in there. So they were kind of like obviously death metal kind of stuff. And then he did like a one-man death metal project called Regurgitate Life. And then he was also in a band called Oblivionized, which they actually got their first EP reviewed by the Needle Drop. Like it was just
really
up. Like yeah, it was mad. Like all of a sudden, like this was went back like when Facebook likes were a thing. Like yeah, I remember like one day they were just like, what the fuck's happened? Like we've got like 10,000 new like likes or whatever. And yeah, they found out like Anthony Fantano like reviewed their EP basically. It's like so
wow,
like Discordance Axis like kind of levels of like Tony Danza. Like it's properly like mental.
Sure. That's cool. That's pretty rad.
So yeah, I used to just like bum around with his bands and sort of like I used to help drive and I used to take loads of photos and stuff. But it wasn't until sort of like towards the end of the band's careers that he was in that he decided to start doing Employe to Serve. And yeah, I literally just learned how to do vocals for this project.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you guys started just the two of you, right? With a drum machine?
Yeah. And so I was like towards the end of my last year of university and like we sort of spent our student loan and stuff on playing like booking shows and stuff like that, just so we had somewhere to play because no one would book us.
So you would play together as a duo with a drum machine? Like what?
So for live, we managed to get our drummer Robbie, our ex-drummer now. We got Robbie because he went to the same music university as Sammy did, and like he put an advert on their sort of little forum thingy, like on their sort of portal on their university thing. And yeah, Robbie was like, "Oh, I like Dillinger Escape Plan and Norma Jean and Chariot." So yeah, we just kind of we just sort of went from there really. We got old school friend to play bass, so that was cool.
No, and then what with the recordings after, like, so Greater Than You Remember, that was recorded with a drum machine too?
Oh no? Yeah, that was like our first proper album. So
okay, so that's when you actually had met. So tell me the progression of going from drum machine and the two of you to like a full band. How long were you guys together before that happened?
So I'm trying to think, we did 2 EPs, and I think back at the time it felt like forever apart, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it was only about a year apart. So we did 2 EPs, and Jay Randall from Agoraphobic Nosebleeds has this digital label called Grindcore Karaoke. And he released us through that. And there's this really cool label called Warg Records in Germany that hit us up and was like, "Oh, can we release you on tape?" And we just kept selling out of the tapes of those 2 EPs.
Wow.
So we were just like, screw it, like let's try and make this live. At that point I was like, I did not sign up for playing live. Because I was definitely not proficient then. I'd frequently blow my voice out, which is quite funny. So from there on we kind of just like, we're like, oh, okay, like for the next EP, let's get some members. So yeah, we found Robbie, the drummer, through Sammy's music university. And then we just got our old like schoolmate Toddy to play bass for us. And then we recorded our first, like it's our 3rd EP, so it was like Change Nothing, Regret Everything. We recorded it in our living room. And then Sammy mixed it because he studied like music production, so he kind of like knew what to do basically. And then yeah, from then on we just toured loads.
Wow. Okay. So with those tapes though, I mean, that's pretty impressive to keep selling it out, right?
Yeah, it was mad. I mean, they're only like runs of 50, but even then we were pretty stoked. But so like unknown.
I mean, 50 tapes to a country you probably had never played or been to, right? Wasn't that through Germany, like a German label?
Yeah, so literally I think there's like 2 or 3 pressings or so of them.
Wow.
I'm sure someone's put it on Discogs because they're probably better at me at archiving stuff, but I have to have a look at it. I think it was about 50.
Wow, that is cool. So then you get a drummer and you guys start touring right away. You went to university as well?
Yeah.
For music or something different?
No, I really studied animation. So like for ages I wanted to be an animator, and then I realized how hard it is. And not how hard it was. I don't mind hard work, but it's in terms of like, it's so, if you're not 100% into it, it takes literally hours to do 10 seconds of animation. And it was always so soul crushing spending 2 weeks on something and then it'll be over in 30 seconds.
Right.
And you'd want to be in tears throughout the whole process. And then you show it to your friends and family. You're like, oh, is it finished? And you're like, oh, yes. So yeah.
You're like, do you understand how much time I put into this?
It's like having mental breakdowns over laptop.
Oh my.
So yeah, like I kind of quickly, I mean, I completed my degree, but I like scraped by.
And then you just didn't really pursue it much after that?
Nah. And then I just got really into music, and because I don't sound weird, but I never thought of getting a job in the music industry, even though it's like my favorite thing in the world, like listening to music and like finding new bands and things like that. Like it never occurred to me. I don't know why, but just didn't.
But your boyfriend, or at the time, your boyfriend, now husband, he was going to school for music, and that was kind of like his main focus.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And so once you guys put this tape out and it's selling and you get a band, then what do you like? How quickly does Greater Than You Remember come out?
Oh, okay. So I'm trying to think. The first two EPs, they came out in 2012, 2013. Our
Okay.
third one came out in 2014. And that's when we started touring Europe and UK a lot. I think we were out every single month doing like 7 days of shows, playing.
Did you have like a booking agent, or were you doing that all yourself?
No one was interested in us. Like I booked it all myself.
Wow, that's a
so
lot of work.
I'd literally, right. So I had a really shit job. Like I hated my job. It was like retail job. But fortunately, we sold computers. So that meant I had internet connection and a computer all day and no customers. So I literally just spent the whole time booking us tours whilst I was at work. And I don't know how I didn't get fired, I'll be honest. But like, yeah, so what I do is I'd find out bands that are similar to us, and I go into their Facebook event pages, make a list of all the promoters, and have a giant spreadsheet, and I'd sit there and email every single one of them. And I'd book tours that way. And my routing was atrocious. We'd play with dumbest drives, but we just did not care.
That must be, yeah, I would imagine that's probably one of the most difficult things, is trying to book shows and dates close enough together to where it makes sense, where you're not driving like past the city to drive back down to the city to drive.
It was so dumb. And I felt so bad because we were young at the time. We weren't old enough to like hire a van. So the other band we were sharing with would have to drive these stints.
You're like, we'll book it and you guys drive.
Yeah. They're like, sure. It was like, stars.
That's so funny. But once that first record comes out, though, did you guys have a label at this point yet, or no?
Yeah. So we signed to Holy Raw Records on the third EP and the album. So
was that a big deal?
Yeah, it was huge. Like Holy Raw in our scene was like such a, like, I mean, an absolute staple. So they had like bands like Bastion's Throats, Rolo, Tomassi, Veils, and like all those kind of bands. And like they were sort of like nicknamed like the kind of UK swell, which is kind of after, was it like, there was like The Wave, wasn't there, or something in America, where it had Touché Amore.
Yeah.
So we had our own sort of like little nickname for it, like but with our bands. So yeah, like they were all part of that scene. Okay. And they were all on Holy Raw. So we were like, wow, okay, we need to be signed to Holy Raw now. And
you did it.
We did, yeah.
Wow. What was that? Do you remember like telling your family, or like how did you celebrate that moment?
Oh, we had a lot of drinks. It was good. Like my family was stoked, but they didn't really like. It's hard to sort of like explain it, because it's one of those things. We're not making a living off of it, but it's a really big deal. And like we're gonna have our stuff on vinyl for the first time, which is a pretty massive thing.
Sure. And then with the next track, how many albums did you put out with that label?
We did 1 EP and 2 albums. So we did Greater Than You Remember
and The Warmth of Dying. Okay, so that when that second record came out, what was like the next step up in as far as the career went? Like the band, were you playing bigger rooms when that album came out? Were you getting bigger tours?
Yeah, so we started. So it's really weird. So the UK scene seemed to not really be a thing until about 2016 to 17, I'd say. Because when we first started, it was kind of like drawing blood from stone. There wasn't like too many new bands going on, and like there was kind of almost like a weird hangover from the 2010s where there wasn't many new bands. But then all of a sudden, like around the release of Warmth of Dying Sun, there was like loads and loads of new bands about, and it was like a really good scene, and like press were really excited, like the fans were really excited about like all the new bands coming out of UK. And so yeah, so when that like our album Warmth came out, I felt like it was the perfect time for it to come out. Like to the point where people forget we have an album before Warmth as well. Wow. That's like how, like it was so weird. It was like over a couple of years, all of a sudden they were like when we were playing shows, there'll be like an awesome support band every single night. And we were like, whoa, what's happening? They're like, there's actually bands again. so yeah, we released that, and yeah, we got our first Quran cover.
That's
I think it was
huge.
then, which was mental. And
I can't
because
imagine.
I think we were one of the smallest bands they've ever had on their cover at that time.
Uh-huh.
Which is insane. Like,
yeah, that's like such an iconic magazine, right? I mean, to get the cover.
I literally I had my own Pandora cartoon, which blew my mind. Like the red-haired like comic strip girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that I was in a Pandora comic strip, which is insane.
Wow, that is crazy.
So yeah, that happened, and yeah, we started touring more. I think we first played Download Festival and a few of the European bigger festivals, and that's like the year when things started really sort of picking up, and we're like, whoa, we're like playing in front of like real people and not just a man and his dog. So yeah, it was cool. And yeah.
Did you guys get on a bigger label then with Eternal Forward Motion?
Yeah, so
was Spinefarm?
Yeah, it was a Spinefarm.
Okay, so you jump up to Spinefarm on because the most recent record's Spinefarm as well.
Yeah. So
okay.
this is an album with them now.
So you put out that record in 2019, and were you able to support it, or did it come out towards the end of the year and you're stuck when COVID happens? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it came out in the May 2019.
Okay.
I think we managed 20 something shows on that album cycle.
Okay.
Because we were supposed to, like, in 2020 we had like a full festival season, a full UK and European tour, and then we were supposed to come to America for like a month.
Have you played America before?
No, we'd never. So like we had this like, month-long tour booked, and unfortunately we'd started the visa process already. We got accepted for them, so I mean, at least we know we're allowed.
That's awesome. That's big. I heard it's such a nightmare to get here.
Yeah, I heard so too. So I mean, yeah. So fingers crossed it will happen again. But yeah, so we were supposed to literally tour. I think we were supposed to have 150 plus shows, but
that came to an end, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Were you on the road when that happened or no?
Yeah. So what happened? So we were on the UK leg of the tour.
Okay.
And I think it was our London show, and it was like we sold out the Underworld, which is sick because it's like it's in Camden, and it's like one of the sort of rite of passage venues that if you can sell out that, like, it's good.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, so that was really cool. So we were like riding high, and like our manager Tom came to the show, and he was like, all right guys, like, I think we're gonna have to pull the dates. And I was like, what are you on about? What is this nonsense? Because we were in our own little bubble. Like before the pandemic, I never checked the news. Like I could not be bothered. So like during tour, I know I kept going to like our supermarkets, and I was like, where the shelves were like empty. And like there's people buying like trolleys and trolleys of food, and I was like, well, this is weird. What's wrong with them? Is it a sale on or something?
Right.
And I was just like, I just want to meal
sale.
Like, go away. So yeah, and I thought, there's something a bit weird going on. I think my mum texted me going, like, what do you think about everything? I was like, think about what? Like literally, I was so oblivious to the whole thing. And our manager came along and was like, yeah, I think we need to pull the rest of the at least Europe dates. And I was like, oh no, it's fine. It's only in, like, and I read about it, and I was like, oh, it's in Italy. It won't come over here.
Right.
No, it's fine.
Well, in the States, it was a big deal. Like I'm the same way. I didn't really follow the news whatsoever until now, because now it's like, what's going on? Because we're up and down with this thing shutting down and opening up and everything else.
Affects you now. Like,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now directly affects me. But it was like when Tom Hanks got it, it was like a huge deal. Like Tom Hanks is in, Australia, and he has it. And like, that's when America started to take it seriously.
Not Tom Hanks.
It was like Forrest Gump and Woody have the virus. And then, yeah, that's what I vividly remember. When he had it, people were like, okay,
this is
serious.
Oh man, did you hear about, I'm pretty sure it's Jared Leto. So like he was like on a meditation retreat apparently.
Okay, and I didn't hear the story.
Came back home, started traveling home whilst the lockdown was happening, and he had no idea what was going on. So like I think like he literally, I don't know how true it is, but like he literally sort of like, yeah, just sort of saw all the empty sort of like roads and streets after his meditation. Can you imagine? You would have thought you would have died.
Yeah, right.
Died.
That's crazy. Yeah, you come out and you're just like, what is going on? No one's outside. All the stores are closed. Like,
I transcended. Like,
right. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so when it all shuts down, you guys have to come home. Then is that when you start working on this next record? Like, how do you deal with the pandemic?
So yeah, so basically I think we literally got to our last UK show at Leeds, and then a couple of us started feeling ill, and we
Oh
were a bit
man.
like, oh. So we felt so bad about this. We like cancelled the show last minute because we were like, we can't, like, if it's as bad as everyone's saying, like, we can't in our good conscience be like, yeah, come in, fans, let me breathe on you.
Right.
So yeah, unfortunately we had to pause. So yeah, we like traveled home in silence, and there's like, it's so weird driving home. Like, it was at night still. Like, we still got our like our vent, like our rider pies as well. So we're eating our pie and mash, driving home after like realizing everything's been cancelled. And like, it was weird actually as well, because like all of our crew members were like, their phones were like blown up, going like, and they kept just being like, well, I've just lost a year's worth of work.
I know, that's like, yeah, the crew got screwed. I mean, if you think about it, because they don't have even the songs on Spotify that might be making them a few bucks or record sales. They nothing. It's just, okay, now what?
No, exactly. They can't be like, here, buy my merch, Johnny
Right.
Sound. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Or buy my live stream event or whatever it is.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that was bleak. But yeah, so when we got home, like, do you know, I when I got home, I think I had COVID. It was before there was even testing, but
I
I
think
like
my
lost,
family had it too
yeah, like it was
before.
definitely went around our tour, because like one of the other band's merch guy very quietly left the tour.
Oh, interesting.
And we found out he was very ill. So we were like, oh.
He's
So
like, I don't
when
have any taste or smell.
yeah, well, that's how I think I definitely know I had it. Not only was I was
Oh,
like the illest I've ever been, but also I couldn't, like, it was so sad. I was like trying to comfort eat because I was miserable, and I had to like self-isolate away from like the rest of my family.
uh-huh.
And I had a spicy lentil soup, and I was like, it just tastes wet. And like, and I can't,
Weird.
and I was like, I can't smell anything. And that was like before they announced it as a symptom. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm dying. Or I'm
Oh,
having a stroke or
wow.
something. I was
Yeah, that's bizarre.
so weird.
That is. How long did it take for your taste to come back?
Oh, like 3 months.
Did it really?
Yeah. And
Yeah, so you definitely had it.
even then it didn't, it took a while for things to be correct. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'd
Yeah,
taste something and I'd be like, that doesn't taste like it normally does.
it
Like, it was
tastes
so
right.
weird. But
Wow.
and I was like wheezy, like, so before, like, 'cause I try and get into some form of shape for touring because it's like a lot of cardio.
Oh, sure.
Um, like I could run like 5 to 10K, like not really like too much of a problem. But when I tried to go running after having it, I could barely do like 1K without being like wheezing. It was insane.
Really?
I felt like there was like a giant gorilla on my chest at all times.
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad. Are you feeling better now, I'd
Oh
assume?
yeah, yeah, like I'm totally
Okay.
fine. But it made
That's
me like
good.
really like worry about my older family members, because like if I had that, and like, you know, I eat fairly healthy, I exercise, etc., not even
Right.
30 yet, like if I had it like that bad, I'm like, I don't want anyone older to get it at all.
Sure. Wow. Wow. Okay. So tell me about this new record. When do you start working on it?
So I think pretty much immediately. So I think Sammy, like, I literally wrote most of it whilst I was like isolating. So for 2 weeks, like I like stayed in our room, and he like stayed in the spare room, so he didn't get it. And
Were you
yeah,
like
I'd
sending
hear him.
files?
Yeah, like I'd hear him through.
Airdropping stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd hear him through the floorboards, like recording stuff. Whilst I was in my like weird like lem sip and cough syrup like stupor.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, so like he wrote most of it, I think, from about March to August of 2020. So So yeah, he pretty much wrote all of it.
Wow.
Very, very quickly. It was quickly in the grand scheme of things, but not so much in the fact that he could do nothing else. So
Right.
like it kind of like almost was like a normal length of time we take to write, but squashed.
Okay. Yeah. What about recording the record? I mean, was that kind of interesting? Were you sharing files? Like, how did you get everybody in the studio to record the record?
So we recorded in November, late November and early December before Boris cancelled Christmas. So
Oh,
like we
Boris
were
canceled Christmas.
he cancelled Christmas. I knew it was going to be cancelled, and I wasn't going to go see my grandparents anyway. But I was like, I knew it.
Boris canceled Christmas. That's funny.
Christmas. He's like the Grinch. But like, yeah. So we had this Wild West time where everything opened up. I think from September.
Okay.
It was wrecked like every weekend. It was like partying and stuff. And then yeah, like, and then it obviously like had a knock-on effect to December. But like we managed to sort of bubble together and practice in the November, and because it was like, and like we were still allowed, but I mean it's technically work anyway, so like we were able to do it without like breaking any rules. But it was insane. Like we were like driving on the motorway and it was dead. Like
so weird.
We commuted because we were just like, we didn't want to sort of stay away from, like, there's no hotels and Airbnbs. So we stayed at home and sort of commuted an hour each day. So yeah, like it was the weirdest thing ever, just driving to and from and then being no one about, like no traffic.
That's so
like,
crazy.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, it's odd.
And
but yeah, I don't understand how that was though, because like it was open, but I just don't think people were commuting in. I suppose they weren't allowed to go out of the area, I think, because there's been so many different formations of our lockdowns, it's hard to keep track. But I think at that point, you weren't allowed to leave your local area.
Right. I know. I was going to say people probably weren't still ready to travel at that point anyway, right? So
no, well, that's it.
Wasn't a lot of people out. Mm-hmm. So then the record's finished. You put it out this year. It came out fairly recently, right?
Yeah, it came out Friday just gone. So like,
wow. So like a few days ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What are you most excited about with the record when it came out? Did you guys get a chance to play a show or anything?
No, we're hoping to like play some shows in November, which we should be announcing this week. But I'm having like weird problems like finding a van to hire. Like there's loads of weird issues going on with the touring ecosystem where there's like things like there was one point I couldn't like order any mics. And like there's like loads of supply issues and like things like that going on. So we'll see. I'm hoping it will happen. Like I want to.
Okay. So you have possible dates, but getting all the ducks
in a row has been an issue.
Yeah.
So weird.
That is crazy that it's that hard. But I mean, everything is right now. It's weird with, like you said, supplies.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
No one was making things, I guess, for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I think that is it. And also, I guess with factories and stuff, because there's loads of social distancing, I guess the volume of which they make things probably wasn't exactly the same. Like I had issue, like once again, like when we were trying to send out our records to people who bought them, we were like, I'm really sorry, but there's no cardboard. They're like, we ran out of cardboard for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like there's no cardboard LP mailers, like t-shirt bag mailers didn't exist. So I was like, oh, let's try to like fashion like Amazon boxes and stuff like that.
That's funny.
Maybe Amazon was stealing them all because Amazon was doing so well.
Oh yeah, they're killing it. It's still right. That's nuts. So maybe some shows coming up.
Yeah,
the record's out. That's exciting. And what's your like? I just listened to the whole record. I really love that last song. What would you say like your favorite song on the album is?
Oh, I think probably the opening track, just because it's so such a Larry opener. Like I love.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is a good song too. I really like that one.
I think I'm most excited about opening with that song live, like the kind of like track and like the walk on and giving it the beans and yeah. It's gonna be good.
Have you seen a show yet?
Yeah, I've actually been to loads. I'm like exhausted because I'm not used to actually leaving the house so much. But I managed to. So we played Download Pilot. So we went there for a day.
Okay.
And then I went to Bloodstock Festival all weekend. That was sick. And then I think been about to 4 or 5 like local shows. So I managed to squeeze in quite a lot.
That's awesome.
From the end of July, which is pretty good going.
Very cool. Well, I'm sure when you guys play, it'll still be pretty emotional to get back on stage for the first time in
oh yeah, like I'm
years.
really excited playing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, literally. I mean, well, just shy of, because we stopped playing March 2020. So if we play November 2021, that's almost 2 years playing our own shows.
That's crazy.
But the thing is, actually, we were so nervous about download because like we'd gone from not playing at all to like 10,000 people. So you're just a bit like, but the thing is, everyone's in the same boat. So
right. That's cool.
I'm sure people were so drunk they wouldn't have noticed messing up.
There you go.
They were having a good time.
Exactly. Well, Justine, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
No worries.
One more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Or I don't know, just do it. Don't make excuses. It's always going to be hard. You're always going to be tired. You're always not going to have enough money. So you might as well just start today, because I think you always regret not trying.